After a long winter with these mud flaps on, how did they do? In addition to this long-term update, I'm going to remove the original set and replace them with a new version. I have been waiting for painted mud flaps in my car's midnight silver metallic color since last year. They are also available in glossy white, black, blue, and red. These are also different in that they do not need drilling like the last set required. See the link in the description if you are interested. Opening the box, we have 4 mud flaps. These are individually wrapped for protection during shipping. There is a long screwdriver with a switchable Phillips and flathead ends. This is handy for prying out clips. I can't figure why they included this short Phillips head screwdriver, since there's no screws included with this kit. This bag includes 8 trim clips. They have a hollow piece that gets inserted into the hole of the mud flap and a center plug that you press inside to hold it in place. You only need 6 of these clips, 2 are extra. Here is the rear mud flap. It's held in by 1 screw in the back and 1 trim clip in the front. On the top is a hook that holds onto the car. The glossy midnight silver metallic looks really good. The paint has been applied well. No obvious cracking or flaws in the painted surface. There are a couple of drops on the back of the mud flaps, but that's not that big a deal. Now I'm removing the second rear mud flap from the plastic. I have seen complaints of earlier versions of painted mud flaps where the edges had a definite lack of paint. Either they were undersprayed, or there were lots of drops or spots on them. These seem really nice. Here is the first of the front mud flaps. It is held in by 2 trim clips and a hook on the top that holds it against the car. You can see an area that has a rectangle opening. You could possibly use a screw with a larger washer if you wanted to attach it in that location to the car. This is the second front mud flap. The quality of all 4 mud flaps looks really good. The metallic reflection is nice. The painted versions have a roughly $20 premium over the matte black versions, so roughly $5 each splash guard. Not bad. First, we need to remove the existing mud flaps. These have been on for 6 months and they're pretty dirty. You do need to use a 10mm socket with a ratchet or wrench to remove on the rear. Then pry out the trim clip on the front. This may take some time as they were stuck on well. I used a flathead screwdriver to remove. Once off, you can see that there is quite a bit of debris on the inside edge of the flap and then in the center groove. I would recommend taking these off once a year to clean them out and to remove any dirt buildup. Before installing, I will clean off the outside painted area with a wet towel. I will then go over with a dry microfiber cloth. This is a side-by-side view, so you can see the difference between the matte black and the midnight silver metallic. I am placing the mud flap on as a quick test fit. Now we can insert the mud flap onto the panel. There is a notch that clips over the panel of the car. Once on, you will attach the 10mm screw underneath near the bumper. This screw is already on the car, so it doesn't need to be included with the kit. Lastly, put the trim clip outer shell into the hole. Now you can push the centerpiece in all the way. For some reason, the rear openings were really tight on my car, and it took quite an amount of force to get it in. Now that we have the first one installed, you can see how closely it matches the original paint color. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the right rear mud flap. Ideally, you should wash out the inside of the wheel well too. Now I'm going to remove the right front mud flap. Unfortunately, the original mud flaps used screws that weren't fit for outdoor use. They actually rusted on me, and I replaced them with galvanized screws. These particular screws used a 7mm socket. Others may just use Phillips head screws. Pop out the two trim clips. Like the rears, these were also pretty hard to get out. And also like the rear mud flaps, these had definitely a high amount of buildup along the edges and also on the car itself. Since I have paint protection film on the front of the car, this didn't really have any problems with scratching. Here you can see the basic design of these two mud flaps is pretty similar. The biggest difference is towards the top end, where there's the clip to hold it on instead of a screw hole. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, you could use a screw with a washer in the rectangular opening if you feel that there's a need for an extra point of attachment. Place the two outer shells of the trim clip into the holes. And now you can align it to the existing holes in the car. Carefully attach the notch so that it clips over the panel. The outer clips popped out for mine, but that's not a problem. You can just push them back in. Now insert the center part of the trim clip. Press firmly on the center clips. Now you can see how the front mud flap looks like installed. Now I'm doing the same process on the left front mud flap. Remove the screw from the existing mud flap. Pop out the trim clips. Clean up the area before installing the new mud flap. And install the new painted mud flap. Even though the existing mud flaps looked pretty beat up, they cleaned off fairly well with some high pressure water and washing off all the mud and dirt off of them. Here you can see they cleaned up pretty well and could be used again with no problem. And the installation is now complete. Here is a view of the finished installed mud flaps. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. It helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.